Hello and welcome back. This is Candace from Candoodle, and I'm super excited to be guest designing for Missing Stamps this month. I'm doing two videos for them, and this is the first. Today I'll be making an interactive card that doesn't require any special dies and an additional clean and simple bonus card. So let's get started. So for these cards, I'm going to be using the It's All Relative stamp set and the Random Dots stencil. So I'm starting off with some Bristol smooth paper, and I'm putting the little stamps that I want to use from the It's All Relative set. I took Einstein, the little chalkboard, and the desk, and I am just inking those up with my Gina K Obsidian Black Amalgam ink because I'm actually going to color these with my Zig Clean Color Real Brush pens, which is something I don't often use. You can totally use whatever colored medium you feel the most comfortable with. I know Linnea and a lot of others tend to use Copics quite a bit, and I use those too, so I wanted to give you a bit of a different option, but feel free to use whatever coloring medium you feel most comfortable with. These are super easy to use, especially with that blender pen. You basically only have to use a couple colors. For his hair, I only used two different colors of gray and then blended it out with that blender pen, which basically just contains water. For his skin, I only had one beige tone, so I did come in and do a little bit of a tip-to-tip technique where I'm using my blender pen and picking up some ink directly from the beige marker and putting it onto his face just to give a softer kind of gradient to the color. For his suit, I decided to go with the classic tweed suit. I always think of scientists wearing these, or at least Einstein. So I decided to go with that kind of color scheme and give him a cute little green tie. For his shoes, I actually only used one color of gray along with my blender pen, and I'll make sure to put all of the colors in the top right-hand corner of the screen. That way you can see which ones I am using. For the chalkboard, I actually only used one color of brown again and just kind of added some shading to the corners. And then I came in with my blender pen to blend those out. Coloring with the black marker does make me a little anxious just because it is so easy to accidentally smudge it. So I was very, very careful, and I ended up using black as well as one of the grays, and you can see it's looking kind of streaky, but I actually ended up liking the way the streakiness looked. You know when chalkboards get kind of old and weathered when they've been used a lot? I actually really like the effect of that, so I left it as it was. And then I am moving on to the desk, which I used two different shades of brown, and I just kind of made that look as wood greenish as I could. And then for the books and everything on his table, I decided to kind of go with a fun mix of colors. So there's some reds and oranges and greens and blues. I could have gone more academic and boring colors, but I thought this would be super fun and a nice little change. So again, you can use whatever coloring medium you like for these, and these stamps are so, so cute. So they're super easy to color up quickly. Once I was done with all of my coloring, I did fussy cut these out off screen because I didn't think anybody would want to watch me struggle to do that, but they were super easy to cut out, and then we are going to move on to the card assembly. So before we assemble everything, I am going to blend a background, so I'm using my Distress Oxides. These are in Smoky Sky, Faded Jeans, and Chip Sapphire, and I kind of just wanted to make it look like a bit of interest in the background, like a painted wall sort of behind him with a bit of a shadow, so there was kind of like a halo effect around him, and these three blues blend together really nicely, so I thought I would use them today. And then I have all of my pieces cut out. So I have my background, and then I also cut out a black floor to use, and the desk is going to sit on top of the floor, and then Einstein is going to pop out from behind the desk. So that is where we're heading. I am taking a pencil to just kind of mark where Einstein is and where I want him to be, so I have an idea of where to put my pull tab. So I got out my little cutting board and my T-ruler just to make sure that I'm doing this straight. And I'm just using a simple X-Acto knife to cut a little channel into my background. And I'm using my scissors to snip that out. I decided it wasn't quite long enough, like Einstein wouldn't have popped out as high as I wanted him to, so I did cut off a little bit extra. And then we are going to use a pull tab. You could just use a rectangle piece of paper. I had a pull tab from another die set that I used, and I do like to double layer them just to give it some added stability because this is something the recipient's going to pull on. And I wanted to make a channel for that, so I did use some fun foam and just cut out a slot in the center that tab would fit nicely in, and it still sticks out a little bit at the top so the recipient knows to pull it out. So to attach this down to my front panel, I am going to use some double-sided tape. I like to use this when I'm using fun foam because it is a bit more of a harder medium to stick down sometimes. And then I'm just going to gently stick that down to the back and making sure it doesn't pop out anywhere. And then you can see my pull tab fits perfectly in there. Something else I like to add for stability is just a little piece of copy paper to make a little belly band around that pull tab. So it's just going to kind of keep it in place as an additional measure so it doesn't go anywhere. So I'm just gluing that down with some glue, and again, that's just copy paper. So once that is done, I am going to get a little piece of foam tape and stick it down to my pull tab. I'm going to stick Einstein where he's going to go and get everything in place so I can make sure things are all in the right spot and working according to plan before I glue anything down permanently. I'm just taking another little piece of black paper that's a bit smaller than my floor and cutting out a spot for Einstein because I do want to give the floor a little bit of lift, but I didn't want to use foam tape because I already had fun foam underneath. So I just added an additional dimension of paper, which is going to give Einstein some room to slide in and out. So I'm just going to glue that down. I added some glue under my piece of foam tape just for some extra adhesive to make sure that Einstein isn't going to go anywhere. And then I am going to glue that down on the top as well and just make sure it's not stuck to anything. I did washi tape down my desk because I wanted to make sure I was going to line my sentiment correctly. So I decided to go with the sentiment that says, "I'm relatively impressed." I thought that would be really cute as like an encouragement card for one of my sciencey friends. And so I did use my Versamark ink and my white heat embossing powder. Once that is done and heat embossed, I am going to glue it on top of my card panel and make sure that Einstein is still popping out properly. And then I am going to come in and glue down the desk. And I was just very careful to only put adhesive towards the bottom. That way it's not going to accidentally get stuck to Einstein. So then I'm coming in with some adhesive. You can use any sort of type, and I just put that all along the back, and we are going to pop this up on a card base. And there we have it, the final card. I think it is so, so cute, and I love how Einstein pops out from behind the desk. I think it's an unexpected little interactive element to the card, and it doesn't require any special dies. So I hope this gives you an additional idea how to use this stamp set. So because I had that chalkboard, which I didn't end up using on the first card, I wanted to make an additional one. I really wanted to use all of the cute little atom stamps from this stamp set, so I decided to go with the sentiment that says, "Because you matter," because all matter is made up of atoms, which are made up of protons, neutrons, and electrons. There's your science lesson for today. So I wanted to use those atoms, so I thought that would be the perfect sentiment to go with it and make an encouragement card. So I'm using the random dot stencil to make a background, and I'm just using some Pinkfresh Studio inks. These are in the shades Grassy, Knoll, Aquamarine, and Seaside. And I'm just doing a very light blend because I am going to come in and do something I don't often do, which I call free range stamping. These little atoms from the stamp set fit perfectly within those dots from the stencil, so I'm coming in with the exact same ink colors that I used for the blending, and I'm just inking those up on my acrylic stamp blocks, and I'm stamping them within some of the dots. I think it's so, so cute, and it really ties together the sentiment with the whole rest of the card. Once I was done with my stamping, I did pop that up on a card base. I'm just using my ATG to get some adhesive on there, and before adhering that down, I decided I wanted to pop up my chalkboard with some foam tape, so I put that on the back. And then, of course, no card is complete without adding some little gems and baubles, so I decided to add them in the colors green and blue. And there we have it, the final card. I think this is such a fun and cute encouragement card, especially for somebody who's into the sciences. As always, thank you so much for joining me today. You'll have to let me know how you feel about the cards below in the comments. I absolutely love these stamps and think they're so, so cute, especially with the sciencey element of it. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. As always, you can find me over on Instagram at Candoodle Creations, and until then, I'll see you in my next video. Bye!